So now that we've talked about properties of ionic compounds, now we want to start writing the formulas. Okay, so we're going to have a few steps here to write the formulas. The first step is you want to write the symbol for the metal cation and its charge. So write the symbol for the metal cation and its charge. Then step 2 is to write the symbol for the non-metal anion and its charge. Then the third step is that the charge without the sign, so just the number, becomes the subscript for the opposite ion. Step 4 is to reduce subscripts to the smallest whole number ratios, because remember these are going to be empirical formulas. So it needs to be the simplest, smallest whole number ratios. And step 5 is our check that the sum of charges of the cation and, check that the sum of charges of the cation cancels the sum of the anions. So those are our steps. And we're going to use these steps every time. So you want to get used to these steps. Alright, so the best way to kind of learn how to write formulas is just to practice them. So in this chapter, we're going to have a lot of practice. I'm going to do a lot of practice problems showing you how to do this. Alright, so this problem says write the formula of a compound made from aluminum ions and oxide ions. So step 1 was to write the symbol for the metal cation and its charge. So we've got aluminum ions and oxide ions. So we have to figure out which one's the metal. So we have aluminum and oxygen. So here's aluminum, whoops. So here's aluminum right here, and here's oxygen. So aluminum is going to be my metal, oxygen is going to be my non-metal. So here's the symbol for aluminum, okay? And then, also remember when we were naming ions, if it was a cation, it was just the name plus ion, so that's why it's aluminum ions. And if it's a non-metal, it was the stem of the name plus IDE plus ions. So that's why it's aluminum ions and oxide ions. Alright, so we've got aluminum is our metal, oxygen is our non-metal, so we have to figure out the charges. So remember, if it's group 1, it's plus 1, group 2 is plus 2, group 3 is plus 3, group 4 is plus or minus 4, depending on if it's a metal or a non-metal. Minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, and then noble gases don't have charges. Okay, so aluminum is over there in group 3, so it's a plus 3. So we write Al plus 3. Step 2 was to write the symbol for the non-metal anion and its charge. So it was oxygen, which is an O, and oxygen here is in my minus 2 column. So that's steps 1 and 2. Step 3, we take the charges without the signs, and we're going to cross down and make them the subscripts for the opposite ion. So step 3 is cross down. So we would get Al2O3. So this superscript becomes the subscript for the other one. This superscript becomes the subscript for the other guy, and we ignore the signs. We just want the number. Okay? Step 4 is to reduce. It's a 2 and a 3, so I can't really reduce that. Step 5 is to check. So I have 2 Als, and we said each one of those was a +3. We have 3 oxygens, and each one of those is a -2. So that gives me a +6, a -6, and now it's neutral. So that would be my answer, Al2O3. All right, on the next lecture, we're gonna do some more practice. So I recommend just before you start the next lecture video to do the next slide with practice problems.